I'm Justin Heath and I'm the Communications Director at Caledonia Green Innovation. Well, Caledonia Green has sprung out of an engineering and project delivery company based in Caithness on the North Scottish coast. Its heritage is in engineering solutions, in the white heat of the nuclear industry, the black gold of the offshore oil sector, and now the green glow of the new renewables space. Our primary product at the moment is an open flow mid-scale hydro solution, a turbine that works, if you think about it, a bit like a traditional water wheel, but turned on its side with the paddles in the water and all the electricals floating above the water on a pontoon type structure. As an open flow hydro turbine, it's an extremely cost-effective way of producing permanent 24/7, 365-day-a-year energy, given that rivers flow 365 days a year. Extremely cheap energy, around about 6p per kilowatt hour. That compares very favourably not only with new coal-fired stock, but also it's grid parable with traditional and older coal-fired power stations, and particularly competitive for isolated communities who can be paying up to 20 or 30 pence per kilowatt hour for diesel power generation. To some extent, it is a reliable source of 24/7 power, particularly for isolated communities. And in the more developed world, it is simply an extremely cost-effective way of producing electricity from a largely untapped resource of open flow river situations. The same nymph turbine can also be used instead of perhaps having a generator on the top of the shaft. It can be used for pumping in irrigation scenarios, and that same pumping effect can be used for reverse osmosis and desalination. Having already identified trial customers for our demonstration unit in both Brazil and Scotland, our main priority here in Monaco is to seek the funding to take us from our prototype stage. We've successfully tested the nymph prototype in tank testing at Southampton University. We now have the data from that that we need to tweak, particularly the turbine blade design, which is where our intellectual property is. We need to tweak that and put the unit back in the tank for final demonstration unit testing. So in essence, what we're looking for here in Monaco is the funds to get us from that prototype stage. We've already proved the concept, to the installation of 2 demonstration units, one in Brazil and one in Dundee Harbour. And that's about 3 million that we're looking to help us achieve that. The commercial goals are to move from our successful prototype stage. We've tested the nymph unit. We've proved that the attractions that we believe the unit had for customers, things like there's no civils involved, no dams. It's friendly to fish, given that it turns at the same speed as the river. So all those benefits we've proven. We've proven the technology at prototype scale in tank testing, and now our key priority is to move through to 2 demonstration plants, and then after that, having spent approximately 3 million on the demonstration phase, we need in the region of another 5 million to take it to full commercialisation. In terms of open flow hydro turbines, we genuinely believe, after an extensive search, particularly during our patent process, that there are no competitors. But what really matters to the target customer, whether it's isolated communities or utilities, is the cost of production. And on that, we genuinely do beat other forms of energy hands down. At 6p per kilowatt hour, we're not only cheaper than diesel, as I mentioned before, but also coal, and actually more traditional forms of renewable energy such as wind. One of the hurdles with a technology such as ours, which is extremely cost competitive, and indeed we've been challenged on the floor here at Monaco, is show us you're working on the costings. The nymph unit, once we're producing it in full scale, will probably cost us around about £130,000 to produce per unit, a 100 kilowatt rated unit. And there's probably a sale price there of about £180,000. So proving that we really can produce the unit so cheaply and also the electricity so cheaply is quite a challenge, but given that the business has 20 years of experience in much harsher environments, offshore engineered environments, for instance, we are confident of our numbers. The biggest challenge of all, however, is fundraising. Our 12-month goal is very definitely to get the 2 demonstration units up and running, one in the Amazon basin with a government partner who's already extremely interested in rolling it out across the whole region, and secondly, closer to home and easier to monitor and to feed back into our development loop is to put a trial unit, a demonstration unit in Dundee Harbour. How we see the landscape changing, I think it's all about the shift from centralised to distributed generation. So our unit, for instance, in the Amazon, there are potentially 7,000 communities that need to be weaned off very expensive diesel generation onto solutions such as ourselves. And because we've presented a compelling solution, there will be a shift from trying to get those communities onto grid, which is very expensive given how remote they are, and actually going down instead a distributed model using individual power plants per community, such as NIMF.